This is Melissa Dykes reporting for the Daily Sheeple. While a lot of people are wondering if the election is going to be rigged, I'm sitting here wondering how many of our elections have already been rigged in my lifetime, and if there's ever been a fair election in this country since at least the military-industrial complex took it over during World War II. Despite the fact that Trump might get 99.99999% of the popular vote, many Americans are forgetting about how the Electoral College works. Popular vote isn't what secures a presidency in the U.S. It's the Electoral College delegates who do. As Max Slavo wrote over at Shit Hits the Fan Plan, there are several key states that we now know Hillary operatives have been working overtime in. Here are at least 5 that Hillary is maneuvering to turn blue, which, if she successfully steals them, will all but block Trump from even coming close to the presidency. Number 1, Utah. While Utah only has 6 Electoral College votes and has never been a decisive swing state because it's always been a red state, at least in modern history, this year is different. This year, independent Republican candidate and Mormon Evan McMullin is on the ballot. Apparently he's in the lead in several polls in Utah. McMullin is not only officially tied to Better for America, a never-Trump operation backed by neocons like Bill Kristol, but he's also a former CIA operations officer, a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, and a former Goldman Sachs banker and volunteer refugee resettlement officer for the UN. It isn't that Hillary will necessarily win Utah, it's that Trump might not either. Number 2, Florida. Florida has 29 Electoral College votes and is considered a must-win swing state for Trump. Sure, we all know the polls are rigged, but it looks like they are oversampling Dems in Florida to look better for Hillary on paper, just like everywhere else. Not only has Hillary's team been pushing for early voting in Florida, where she's raking in an advantage, but worse, Roger Stone is reporting that Hillary's team secretly met with Broward County officials in Florida.
2 women accused of filling in forms that didn't belong to them. Both of those women are now behind bars and facing serious charges.
One is accused of ballot tampering. The other charged with trying to register dead voters.
Gee, could that be because we all know Florida's been a deciding state before? Number 3, Colorado. With 9 electoral votes, Colorado is currently swinging blue, but could go either way. CBS 4 and the Washington Times are reporting that Colorado's Secretary of State has opened an investigation after multiple examples were found of deceased people registering and voting.
We call it dying to vote. A CBS 4 investigation has uncovered many cases of dead people in Colorado voting from the grave.
But how you can really tell if the thing was rigged is if Hillary wins state number 4, Texas. This is the big enchilada, so to speak. For the first time in many decades, Texas is in play for Hillary and the Democrats. Texas has been as solidly red as any state could possibly be in the Union, but 2016 could actually be different. With 38 electoral votes, the Lone Star State is the biggest prize on the map next to California. And as Michael Snyder and many others have been reporting, electronic voting machines have been mysteriously flipping votes from Trump to Hillary in several counties in Texas. At least one Texas county is actually making an emergency switch to paper ballots after these irregularities were found with the electronic voting machines during the early voting. Meanwhile, the head of Texas's elections up and decided to violate voter laws and abandon a manual count of a random sampling of 1 to 3% of votes. Without that count, there's less accountability than ever in one of the biggest states needed to win. Number 5 is actually a wild card. Trump is currently projected to win in Ohio and North Carolina, but Hillary is reportedly leading in Pennsylvania, Iowa, Virginia, and Arizona. Of those 4, only Pennsylvania has traditionally been a solid blue state. Again, if they have a track record of their rigged polls behind them, they have the public perception of a Hillary win, which might be enough to hand her these states. At least if she steals states which aren't hers, the rigged polls give her cover. And we know she's going to have to steal some of these states, we just don't know which ones. On the Trump side, mainstream media outlets are already projecting an armed revolution if Trump loses. The system is obviously gearing up for such an eventuality with a mock urban warfare drill set to run until 30 days after the election. Meanwhile, Obama actually stood up at a podium and claimed there's no chance the election could be rigged.
Instances of significant voter fraud are not to be found. If Mr. Trump loses Florida, it's because of those people that you have to watch out for. That is both irresponsible and, by the way, doesn't really show the kind of leadership and toughness that you'd want out of a president. You start whining before the game's even over?
Guess he would know.